You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
And we're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So we pay a lot in taxes, a lot. And many of us also donate a lot to charity. And I really can't stand when I see that money go to waste. You know, I'm not, cheap or frugal, but I don't like to waste something. Because if that plate of food or that $20 bill or that job could go to somebody deserving, I want to make sure they get it. Well, when I hear of money, like of what happened in Minnesota and Maine, go to people's lavish lifestyles, it makes me mad. We're being told by Daily Mail that the former CEO of a San Francisco charity for the homeless has now been accused of embezzling over $1.2 million to fund her lavish lifestyle, according to prosecutors. Gwendolyn Westbrook, who was CEO of United Council of Human Services, is facing charges including grand theft, misappropriation of public funds, and filing false tax returns for 4 years. Allegedly, the organization received millions in government grants in the past 2 decades, and prosecutors accused the 71-year-old of misappropriating the funds between the years 2019 and 2023. She is accused of stealing $91,000 from UCHS, while additional large sums missing from the organization remain unaccounted for. She was actually booked into jail on 9 charges on February 20th, released on bail. Now, according to District Attorney Brooke Jenkins, she was originally scheduled to be arraigned on Tuesday at the Hall of Justice, but at the former chief executive's request, the judge postponed the arraignment to March 9th. Jenkins says, you're talking about millions of dollars being lost to that effort, our taxpayer dollars, while every day we sit and deal with people who are struggling on our streets. Apparently, that organization was supposed to run a soup kitchen and shelters for the homeless, and they did for nearly 20 years. She ends up getting dismissed or fired, I believe, in 2023. And a former employee of UCHS accused her in a lawsuit in that same year for dismissal of misusing funds and living a lifestyle consistent with her reported salary, inconsistent, which was $155,000 annually. She apparently bragged to staff about purchasing fancy cars. She had a Tesla, a Jeep Renegade for a close family friend, 2 vehicles for cousins, and this was on, allegedly, taxpayer dollars. I don't want to go into all the things she spent on, but, apparently she had a history. She was accused of accusation. She was accused in 1997 of stealing thousands of dollars from a cash box at a parking lot owned by the San Francisco port, according to her employer. So, fraud is an issue. And so yesterday when I was listening to the State of the Union, Trump says he is declaring a war on fraud, and he is putting J.D. Vance as leader of the task force to fight fraud. Trump claimed that Somali-led fraud was up to $19 billion in Minnesota, greater than previously reported. He said it's this kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation. According to the Center Square, he suggested the efforts to tackle fraud could be used to balance the federal government's budget. The U.S. national debt is more than $38 trillion. Now, this is his quote. He said, the Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. And, of course, he blamed open borders, unrestricted immigration for the fraud issues. So looking at what Nick Shirley found with the daycare centers, and now allegedly $110 million in fraud of tax dollars were spent on fraudulent child care centers. Governor Tim Walz has now dropped out of the race for another term because of these intensifying allegations. So, do we need somebody nationally to look at this? And I mean, Trump's a busy guy, and the Department of Justice is pretty busy. So seeing J.D. Vance, remember Kamala Harris was the border czar, and that was an absolute mistake. But J.D. Vance being in charge of something, it's important if he's going to be running for president in a few years. That's 2.5 years. I think it could be a good move. And to look for fraud, because, that's kind of what Doge was supposed to be. A Doge was supposed to sunset July 4th. And Elon Musk ended up leaving in May, although last year, I was surprised that Elon Musk was so front and center of it and so active, boots on the ground. I thought he was going to lead it and still be working on SpaceX and Tesla. Now, he was in Washington nearly every day. And wow, did they find waste, fraud, and abuse. But the idea of Doge the Department of Government Efficiency was supposed to sunset by July 4th because you find it, you stop it. You wouldn't think it would need to be something that continues. Well, it does if you still haven't found it all. And apparently it's going to take years to find all the waste, fraud, and abuse. And so what happened in Minnesota, Minneapolis, it's frightening because we would be naive to think that's the only area where this was happening. And so, the administration had to freeze $10 billion in federal child care funding to California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, New York until, if they could show they're legit, then the money opens up. But I don't understand why the current states aren't already having that. If I never applied for government funds, but if I did, there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of, checks and balances. How did this happen? Well, somebody must have looked the other way, or somebody must have been a part of it. And so Vance, people are looking at, is it going to be Vance or Rubio? I think Marco Rubio is fantastic, and I think he could be a fantastic president. J.D. Vance, is Marco Rubio outshining J.D. Vance? What people feel that what would be the natural progression of things is J.D. Vance runs, and then after J.D. Vance runs Marco Rubio, or does Marco Rubio become his vice president? But J.D. Vance is overshadowed by Trump. Even if J.D. Vance has ideas, Trump is for some, so J.D. Vance has to now, even though I do believe he's been a big part of a lot of this, he needs to now have his own name on things. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media.
We're back. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So Trump posed a simple question to Congress at last night's State of the Union, and he asked, he said, tonight, I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Now, immediately you see, most of the room rise to their feet, except Democrats staying seated. And that was, even though it shouldn't have been shocking, boy, was that a bad optic. And you see heckling of the president and all that by, Representative Ilhan Omar and Representative Rashida Tlaib. And, here's the thing, what really bothers me about, the whole situation, being a daughter of an immigrant, is America is all about legal immigration. Our immigration is what made us so great, but it was a legal pathway. And being able to take in as many immigrants as we have over the centuries has been one of the biggest accomplishments. And so why would you want to mess that up like Biden did by letting illegal immigrants take cuts in line and screw over the legal immigrants that are going through a pathway that not only protects them, but protects Americans because they get health screenings. They're checked for infectious disease. They're, as we've talked about before, Ellis Island days, you could not come to America and then be a burden onto the society. You had to have somebody who was going to sponsor you. You had to have a job. You had to pass health metrics. You were not allowed to bring infectious disease like tuberculosis into the country. You were not allowed to have a criminal past. You are not going to be let in and then allowed to rape or kill somebody, a young girl or a woman who was jogging on a college campus. And so our legal immigration pathway protects legal immigrants as well. And then the Americans. And so what Biden did is allow Democrats to have more votes. And now Democrats are falling all over each other trying to protect those extra votes by trying to stop ICE and protesters are now, getting into harm's way by not engaging with armed officers when protesters should be peacefully protesting in safe areas and not where there is an active operation. And as a physician, if there's a medical emergency and EMS is coming, what are you supposed to do when the paramedics come? You're supposed to pull over to the side and stop. Let's get the hell out of the way of the paramedics. You're supposed to get the hell out of the way of the firefighters. If people are like, well, I want to go into the fire, no, the city and law enforcement prevents you from engaging with firefighters, engaging with police officers, engaging for your own safety. And where was the city to protect them, to keep them away from harassing and messing with ICE officers? And then, unfortunately, 2 end up dying in the scuffles. And so it's really obvious what's going on. And what we're going to see over the next few months is just rhetoric and, Trump is killing Americans on the streets and it's a bad message. And you would think no one's going to believe this when you see these angel families and you see these people struggling because somebody murdered their daughter on a train or their daughter running on a campus or their daughter, going to a party, or when you would think everybody would be like, okay, but that's not happening. And what's shocking me is all the misinformation and all the rhetoric and the false narratives. I told you I had a patient the other day call online, and she was ill. I think she had flu or COVID, I had asked her, were you vaccinated? Did you get the vaccines? And she goes, yeah. Can you believe they're trying to take vaccines away? Is that crazy? Who's taking the vaccines away? Who? The health department? Who's removing vaccines? Apparently, that's what's being pitched as what the Trump administration or RFK Jr. was doing. How many times have they said the vaccines are there? You can have access to the vaccines. The vaccines are there. Are they going to recommend every 6-month-old get a COVID vaccine? Not without there being enough, studies looking at safety and efficacy but does everybody, do all pregnant women have to get a COVID vaccine? So we're going to make it a choice as opposed to it being a mandatory recommendation. When we look how mandatory it was under Biden, healthcare workers lost their jobs, military lost their jobs. But so what worries me is a very nice, very smart woman was believing the narrative of vaccines are going away. And I'm like, how did you come to that conclusion? Well, because that's what they keep saying. They're taking away our vaccines. They're taking away this. They're taking away this. And so, when you have somebody that's not as, they don't have the time to spend actually looking and researching what's going on, they may very superficially say, okay, looks like they're gunning down Americans. They're ripping people away who are in the middle of breastfeeding their child. They're doing this, and it's frustrating. And so when people tell me, they go, Dr. Dahlia, this could be the Republicans' very last administration, because if the Democrats do cheat, if the Democrats do whatever, then if they do allow, the millions that came in, they could tip the scale. If they gerrymander, and now there'll be no Republican representatives in California. Let me know. You know what? It's interesting. As it pertains to that, the California, this is why the Electoral College is so important. Where, Iowa needs a voice. Minnesota needs a voice. California not having any Republican representatives, or Texas, even though that's not the case, but let's say Texas had absolutely no, Democratic representatives. I really do believe that there should be a little bit more balance with that. Now, I understand that there are some states where, they're so small and they have very few representatives, but the purpose of the representatives is to represent the people that are living there. And when you hear that there are millions of Republicans in California and they don't get a voice, or millions of Democrats in an area and they don't get a voice, the Senate, offers 2 seats, but if they never get to go to, then you basically are left with, you live in a state that doesn't represent you, or you have to move. And I don't know. I wonder what's going to happen with that, because I just, anyway. So looking at the State of the Union and, Trump saying, look, stand up and show your support. The American government is to protect American citizens. That's something in our Constitution. And no, they don't feel that way. I mean, protecting women in sports. You were watching the Olympics, and I'm looking at the women's numbers and the men's numbers. If a man had competed, a biological male competed against women, these women would not have won. Many of these women would not have won their awards at all. And so, I thought Democrats were about protecting women. It's shocking. I thought Democrats were also anti-rape, anti-abduction, anti-trafficking, this is what happened during, people traveling here illegally and using, there being a system such that cartel was taking advantage of people coming across. I mean, just horror. I mean, you would think we bipartisanly would stop this. So, it was, I thought, a very good State of the Union. I really do believe that we have individuals that listen to the rhetoric and that really believe that Americans don't come first and their way is the right way. And if that's where America is changing, we'll see in the, with the next few elections. But it is frustrating, when you saw, what has been accomplished thus far with this administration and how the Democrats just sat through it. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regenerations. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, Fine Farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret.
Powered by science.
And we're back. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So society is worried that we're going to have a baby shortage and people aren't going to want to have kids and people aren't going to want to get married. Well, we're not going to be able to fix that unless we make dating reasonable again. And the truth of the matter is young people can't afford to date. Too expensive. It's interesting. I get to talk to a lot of college students because I'm on campus and I work with college students a lot. And so I get a little bit of I remember what things were like when I went to college. You would meet somebody up at the club. You would maybe go to Blockbuster, rent a movie, grab some pizza. I never expected anybody I was dating to take me to a fancy dinner. Although in Las Vegas, if you waited till 11 p.m., food got cheap. So I was dating somebody who, we would just always go out to eat at 11 p.m. You know what? Listen, I don't care. You don't have to spend a lot of money on me. I just, want to spend time with you and I want to eat. So, but, you could really get away with, hanging out and not necessarily, I always thought going to like a movie and a fancy dinner. Well, what's interesting is with movies, there was the $1.99 movie theater. And the $1.99 movie theater was where I got to see Home Alone. I got to see a lot of movies that were cheaper. So for $1.99, you could really get a decent date. You could have dinner and a movie for, $20-25. That was still a lot of money at the time in the 90s. But now, wow, it's expensive. Now, what a lot of these guys are telling me is, one is, politics. That's a big issue. Where they meet somebody and the first thing they get asked, from if they're dating a female is, how do you feel on this? How do you feel on this? And so if they don't want to talk politics or they don't agree with them, it's done. It's gone. And so we're starting to see a little bit more of a divide between men and women in politics, but that's a shame that if somebody asked me how I felt I've been studying. I haven't had time to watch the news. We never brought up politics, but apparently that's a thing. Whether it's on your dating profile or whatever, people are like, I just need to filter out. But if they're going to disagree with me at all, or if they're going to show support of one candidate versus another, we're done. I don't know why we let politics get that important. All right. There's a lot of couples out there that are both Republican and Democrat, and they do well. So apparently that's a biggie. But the next thing is, I'm meeting you for the first time, right? I don't want to get accused of assault. I don't want, you don't know who I am. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable about getting into a car or whatever. So why don't we meet for coffee? Apparently, a lot of these guys are telling me ladies don't like that. They don't want to go for coffee. They want their first date to be an Instagram moment. So then the guys have to say, okay, well then let's not call it a date. Let's just meet and then see if we want to go out on a date. Well, but then who's paying? It's coffee. Why can't we? It's interesting. There's an influencer that apparently made headlines. I think her name is Becca Bloom. And I guess she says there was an essay titled, let me see. Okay. She said that men believe that equality in a relationship means splitting the bill on dates. But she says men should pay on dates because women earn less than their male counterparts in the workplace and spend more than them on grooming and beauty to meet beauty standards for women. She says men only remember the word equality when it benefits them financially. Okay, hold on a second here. If I, told a guy that he had to pay for dinner because I had to put money, or he had to match me financially because I had to put money into my looks, I mean, this guy would have to sell his house. I mean, there's not enough makeup and cosmetic surgery and hair products. I could not expect. If you tell a guy that what I don't like about what this influencer said is if a man has to pay because the woman has to pretty herself up. See, most dudes are like, look, I don't want all the makeup. I want the real you. They may not want to be catfished and they may not, be attracted to you. But if you are trying to look like a 10 and you're a 7 and you expect the guy to compensate for that, that's not cool. That's just not cool. And so what's happening is, listen, ladies, if you really think the guys have to pay for every date, I mean, how busy is your dating, schedule? How's your calendar looking every Saturday night? I mean, I would never be. Now, I don't want to be the girl that always has to pay. And, luckily, I always offered, because I know how difficult it was. And most of the guys were pretty gallant. And they were like, no, let me. And I'm like, well, let me get the discount for you. So I would walk into the pizza place and I'd flirt and get the discount and all that. I'm like, okay, good. If you're going to pay, let me at least save you some bucks. And then, there was always ladies' night where you could get free drinks. And so, okay, well, I'll take you out on Tuesday night. There was a place called the Shark Tank. Because of Tark the Shark, and so it was ladies' night on Tuesdays. So the guys would all be there because, great, women are going to be there, free drinks, and we don't have to buy them drinks. But I would never expect in this day and age for someone to and then to go to dinner. It's expensive. I mean, well, let's go for sushi. At $12, $16 a sushi roll, I'd be like, you want to split a roll? I mean, it's expensive. It's so expensive. I took my husband to a really beautiful steakhouse last night for dinner. I took the kids. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at gorgeous view. Gorgeous. And I'm like, this would be a fantastic date night or prom night dinner. It's expensive. Nobody could, you can't afford that. In fact, I love the place. It was good, but it was I was like, okay, we're eating Tao Brahman the next couple nights. I mean, it was pricey. And so if you're thinking you're going to go to this you're going to make this date night. And the thing is many people, when they're thinking about being taken on a date, they're thinking of these romantic dinners and romantic balconies, and they want the Instagram moments. And so what's happening? Dating's just not happening. Can you order water on a date? I mean, that was my thing. I'll have water. Bring the bread. Like, I'd go to Olive Garden. And then I would, order the cheapest thing on the menu because I got the bread and the salad and water, and I could make it work. You can't do that on a date, especially if you're dating somebody who's kind of looking at you. And you see, for me, that would have turned me off. In fact, it's funny. My husband wasn't overly spending either when we dated, and it's because I offered, but, I was like, look, and I liked that he was smart with money. He did spend and he was very generous, but he didn't try to show things off, and he didn't, and that was kind of important because, I need to nest. I need to save for the kids. I need to. And so, I think you being smart with money and creative with dates should be a win. But if the person you're dating is like, nah, I need to go to the fancy steakhouse with the view, and I need the expensive cocktails, nobody's calling you. Now for dates, there's a lot of different things you could do. I think the picnics are fantastic. I think the strolls in the park. I think the going to a festival or going to a concert is great, and let's grab, a slice of pizza. So, I mean, there's ways you can, and also do something that you want to do. Right? Don't just spend money on somebody else. I mean, make sure you're also getting enjoyment out of that experience if it is a concert you want to go to or whatever. But right now, trying to go on a date, I really feel for these young people, it is just too expensive to go out. And so you got to kind of do like, a movie and pizza or movie and Chinese food or something inside. And if people don't like that idea, for a first or second date, and I get that, they're probably not getting those dates. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
And we're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one of my listeners is not very hip on flu shots or COVID vaccines, but they are interested in getting an allergy vaccine. And they asked if we have vaccines for allergies. And, because they'll go to Walgreens and get one of those. So interestingly, we don't necessarily call them vaccines, but we do have injections, and we do a form of immunotherapy for allergies, but it's something we've been doing for a long time. Those are called the allergy shots. So when you hear somebody say, oh yeah, I need to get allergy shots, and you're thinking to yourself, well, is that like rabies or it's a type of immunotherapy where it tries to retrain your immune system. That's kind of what vaccines are. You have natural immunity and artificial immunity. You don't hear them use the term artificial immunity as much since COVID vaccines, but it is technically artificial immunity. Natural immunity is where you get exposed, let's say for those of us old enough as a kid to chickenpox. We got exposed to chickenpox. We won't get chickenpox again. We have immunity to that. We could get shingles when the varicella virus decides to kind of wake up, but we get a natural form of immunity to getting full body chickenpox. Rare to get it a second time. That's a natural immunity where you got something naturally. Artificial immunity is where we have the younger generation where we are going to give you the vaccine. We are going to give you either an attenuated live version that's very weak and attenuated so it can't make you sick, to have you produce antibodies, or like the flu vaccine where we give you a killed exoskeleton, we call it an activated vaccine of the form of the virus, so that you build immunity to the skeleton of it and recognize it. So that's called artificial immunity. But it's a form of immunotherapy, therapy to address your immune system. So for people who are allergic to cats or dogs, or thank God my husband isn't allergic to cats and dogs, because, man, I love cats and dogs. I actually get allergic to them. They make me sneeze. They make me itch. When they lick my skin, I get a rash. But I just love animals so much that, I think over time I've desensitized, but I used to be pretty darn allergic. But if you, God forbid, are prone to getting anaphylaxis, where, you could react to peanut butter or dust or mold, or there's some people allergic to water even. There's some, and it could cause you to die. We have an allergist or an immunologist try to minimize your sensitivity, and we call them desensitization shots. It can take years. But what they do is they do it very similarly to homeopathy, where they give you a little tiny bit, just barely enough that and as long as that doesn't trigger a very and they do it while watching you very closely and having medications to calm down any allergy that you could get, until your body's like, okay, I'm used to it. I don't have to freak out when I see it all the time. I'm okay. So increasing tiny amounts of allergens, fighting fire with fire, is something we do in immunotherapy. It's something we do in homeopathy. It's a brilliant way to address that. Now, that being said, they are looking at mRNA vaccines for food and seasonal allergies to see if there's a way to teach people how to calm down the immune system. Those of you saw me last week. I mean, I just couldn't stop sneezing, and it's just not this time of year. It stinks too, because I would really like the spring more if it wasn't for allergies, but I am miserable the next few months. And it stinks because it's, one of the prettiest times of year, but I'm like, I just cannot wait till fall and winter. Deep fall, like Halloween. Give me October, November, December. My favorite 3 months of the year. And I also feel the best. Even though there's coughs and colds and things like that, I just feel the best. Also because of standard time. I just do better with that. It's incredible how much with nature and stuff you could. So that's my happy time of year. Now I'm getting kind of grumpy. And yes, we have Passover coming up, where I can't eat bread for a week, and then I get constipated. Oh, I'm grumpy. It's 8 days of that. That's not easy. And many of you, with Lent, it's a rough time. But you know what? It's an important time. We got to get through it. So when you look at, in terms of vaccines for allergies, they're coming up with that. There's monoclonal antibodies. They'll have sublingual immunotherapy. Some of you are on Xolair, which is an injection that does make you less allergic. I ended up getting a Kenalog shot. It's old school, where I get a shot of Kenalog, a steroid. It could fat necrose and take away some of the fat. And I know some of you are like, well, man, shoot me up all over the place. No, you can't do that. You can only take so much. So you really got to rub your butt really, really good after you get the shot. And you got to get the shot in the butt. And if not, it could cause a dimple in your butt because it could eat away at some of the fat. But the steroid shot is what a lot of people have been using since the 80s and 90s to calm down their allergies. We don't really recommend it to anybody that has high blood pressure or diabetes or other issues, kidney issues. But it's what some people do to make you less, shall we say, sensitive to allergies. The only problem, I mean, in addition to somebody having side effects and high blood pressure and diabetes or kidney issues, the only other problem is, allergies started to hit me, and they do hit early for me in February. Well, we're still in flu season. We're still in COVID season. So to suppress your immune system could put you at risk for getting sick. So we don't usually recommend, if we could find another way that's a lot more specific to what needs to be addressed, like you not reacting to the pollen as much and it is a defense mechanism. Remember, your ability to sneeze and cough is a defense mechanism. But what we're doing is we're taking antihistamines, anti-leukotrienes, and we're taking medications, steroids to try to minimize our body's defense mechanism, because it could interfere with, you can't operate or sleep, if you're always sneezing, or if you can't breathe, or if you have asthma. So it's important to control allergies, but we don't want to suppress your immune system. And so I love that they are working towards ways to retrain your body, to not panic when you see something, when your body detects that. And we've had a lot of success with allergen immunotherapy. And so if you are one of those millions who are like, oh, this is going to be rough, I got to stay indoors, I can't go outside. You see, and people say, well, I don't want to, get these medications or these shots because they can affect your health. If you're not outside exercising, enjoying the outdoors, walking the dog, getting some sunlight and some vitamin D, how does that affect your health? It's interesting. I feel good. Dogs want to go outside. I take the dogs out. I come back and then I'm sneezing for an hour or two. So for me, the Kenalog shot's great, but for those of you that may have contraindications, maybe not the best thing. They are working on a COVID flu combo and pneumonia nasal spray. They are working on that. We're going to get a little bit more. Researchers at Stanford Medicine have developed a new vaccine. I believe it works on rats at this time, but in terms of humans, being able to get something where it's one shot at once, I think that's important. People don't get their pneumonia vaccine as diligently as they do. And because you got to get the flu vaccine every year and the COVID vaccine every few months, it's really difficult to be compliant with that. Not to mention, people don't like to be injected. But the nasal spray, they said, provided broad protection in the lungs for several months. Now, Trump had wanted us to come up with a universal vaccine. People say the Trump administration is anti-vaccine. No, he actually has been a very, very vocal about us having something universal where one shot does it. Of course, whenever you do combine, vaccines, it is difficult to see what you're reacting to if you do have a reaction. But from what we understand, this worked well in mice, and this could be very, very helpful later for adults. So we'll keep an eye on it and keep you posted. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA1. That's 800-JBS-USA1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA1 today.